All right, it's that time of the week again. Welcome into the NFC West Huddle. I'm Ethan McReynolds. The Super Bowl matchup is finally set, so let's welcome in our panel talking all things NFL. Joining me today, Keyshawn Ward from San Francisco, Robbie Baker in Phoenix, and Gerard Moncure joining us from his home in Los Angeles. Thanks for welcoming us in, Gerard, to your home. Guys, I mentioned the Super Bowl matchup now set. Each team in our division has history in the big game. Keyshawn, your Niners were just there last year. Gerard, the Rams won it in 2022. Robbie, Kurt Warner led you guys there in 2009. And, you know, we don't need to talk about the last time the Seahawks were in the Super Bowl 10 years ago on Saturday, but who's counting? My question to you all, though, we just saw during championship weekend what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. How many years away is your team from getting back there? Keyshawn, I'll start with you.
Ethan, I think we are 1 year away. Yes, that might be something where it's like, where do you get this confidence from? Well, we just seen what the Niners went through this past season. It was nothing but injuries across the board. When you got somebody like Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, the names go on. It's been so many injuries and turmoil. I mean, hell, we had a player getting shot with Ricky Pearsall. And then, you know, Travis Ward and Trent Williams both losing kids. So I think once the team is fully healthy, we all know this is probably one of the best rosters from top to bottom in the National Football League. So I think, you know, with them coming more motivated going to training camp, they have Robert Saleh back on the defense. And then, you know, we got to see what's going to go on with Brock Purdy in the contract situation. But I really think if most of those free agents are able to stay with the Niners and they're fully healthy, they'll be back in the big game next year.
Yeah, Gerard, I'll go to you next. Kyle, your colleague, mentioned a few weeks back the Rams could take a step back next year. Do you see it the same way, and how far are the Rams from getting back to the Super Bowl?
Well, as long as they re-sign Matthew Stafford, they figure out this Cooper Kupp situation. Obviously, both of those will have to be contracts that are restructured. The word out here is that Stafford plans on playing next year. He wants to come back. They get those two things situated. They're right there. Come on. They were a play away from beating the Eagles in Philadelphia in snow. And no one can tell me that they would not have had an excellent chance of beating the Commanders at SoFi Stadium had they gotten that one last play against the Eagles. Now, they do have some other things contractually they need to figure out. Obviously, they've got to figure out one or two positions on the offensive line. Alaric Jackson, they probably need to re-sign him, along with wide receiver Demarcus Robinson. As I said, they've got to get Stafford re-signed under a new deal along with Cooper Kupp. And then on the defensive side, they have the second youngest defense in the entire NFL. Bring back Bobby Brown III, bring back Michael Hoyt. They've got $60 million in cap space. The Rams are right there. They don't have to do too much. They've got to figure out a way to stay injury-free, which we all know is really the deciding factor on what kind of potential your team reaches in every NFL season. But they are right there. They can be right back there knocking at the door with this same exact team almost next season.
And, Robbie, it might have been the season we expected from Kyler Murray and the Cards, but it had the potential to be so much more. How many years away do you think the Cardinals are from a second Super Bowl appearance?
I would love to say it could come soon. I think realistically it may be 8 to 10 years away. And I say that because I know my colleague Richard Sines gives you guys a hard time in Seattle saying Geno Smith is not that guy. Well, we're going to find out next year if Kyler Murray is that guy for the Cardinals, because if Kyler Murray cannot lead this Cardinals team to the playoffs this coming season, this next season, then it may be time to look at a reset at the quarterback position. And if they go down that path, then that resets your Super Bowl timetable as well. If Kyler Murray can take the next step, if they can figure out that offense, they can get Marvin Harrison Jr. more involved, make him a true number one threat. They're going to have a lot of cap space, just like Gerard mentioned with the Rams. The Cardinals are going to be in a position to add pieces. If they add the right pieces and Kyler Murray takes a big leap this year, then maybe the Super Bowl can come quicker. I'm just not overly optimistic that's going to happen.
Yeah, all eyes on Kyler Murray heading into next season. For the Seahawks, there were a lot of positives to take away from Mike McDonald's first season as head coach, namely the defense improving from 30th in the league in yards allowed up to 14th. A drastic improvement there, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Yes, the Seahawks were just one win away from a playoff appearance with a rookie head coach. Just win that Giants game. Just don't throw 2 red zone picks against the Rams and you're into the playoffs. But would this team actually have made any noise in the playoffs? I don't think so. There's a big difference between making the playoffs and actually contending for a title. And I think this team still has some work to do to get to that point, particularly on the offensive line. It's been about a decade since anyone in Seattle has felt confident about that group. So the question turns to, how much trust do you have in general manager John Schneider that he can turn that position group around? Because of his inability to do so for the past several years, I think the Seahawks are at least 2 years away from seriously contending for a ring, probably more so past that. I think they can win with Geno Smith, unlike Richard Saenz at quarterback, but not without a competent offensive line. All right, next topic. Josh Allen fell to Patrick Mahomes once again in the playoffs this past weekend. 4 of his 6 playoff losses are to Mahomes and the Chiefs. He's never gotten past them in the playoffs. We all know the cursed playoff history of the Bills and them losing 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s. Do you guys think Josh Allen will ever take the Bills to a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes in the same conference? Robbie, I'll start with you.
I do think he will get there eventually. This kind of feels like we're reliving Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, right? Because those Colts teams were always so great in the regular season, and they'd go up against the Patriots in the playoffs, and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and that Patriots monster would always end up coming out on top. The tricky part for Josh Allen is, okay, well, eventually maybe he'll get past Patrick Mahomes, but you look at the other quarterbacks that also haven't gotten past Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson has not gotten past him. Joe Burrow did once, and he's never got back again to the Super Bowl. So it's not just Josh Allen when you look at the AFC. It's Patrick Mahomes, and then there's another big kind of contingent of kind of 1A and 1B quarterbacks that Josh Allen will have to make his way through to get to a Super Bowl. But I think ultimately, by the time it's all said and done, I think Josh Allen will eventually lead the Bills there to the promised land.
Yeah, I love the Brady-Manning comparison, and similar to that rivalry, each game between Mahomes and Allen has been an absolute classic. Keyshawn, I'll go to you next. Do you think Josh Allen can take Buffalo to the promised land?
Yeah, I'm going to sound just like Robbie because he's right. This is similar to what Peyton Manning went through in the 2000s. At one point, I believe he was 1-4 against the Patriots in the playoffs, and it all just takes that one win for them to finally get over the hump. Because after Peyton beat Brady in the AFC Championship in 2006, I don't think Brady beat Peyton in the playoffs ever since that moment. And Robbie brought a great point. There's 4 quarterbacks. They're all the same age. When it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. They're all 28 and 29 years old. So, yeah, it's looking kind of murky for Josh Allen to get to a Super Bowl. But I just think he's too talented. And then who knows? Maybe a Joe Burrow gets back into the playoffs and he takes the Chiefs out. And now it comes down between Josh Allen and another quarterback. So I think, in the next 10 to 15 years, Allen will make a Super Bowl at least one time.
You guys naming all those AFC quarterbacks. I'm very happy that we're playing in the NFC over here. I'll go next, seeing what Josh Allen was able to do this year with losing Stephon Diggs and other weapons and still putting up an MVP-type season. Gives me a lot of confidence that whoever the Bills put around him, Allen will make it work and give Buffalo a chance to win a championship every single year. Even with the Chiefs making it to another Super Bowl. We talked about it all through the playoffs. It felt like this was the most vulnerable the Chiefs have been in a while. With all the one-possession games they were able to skate by and win in the regular season. I can tell you as a Mariners fan, somebody that follows the team and covers them, a team that had the best record in one-run games and hung their hat on it for a few years straight, only for it to flip on them last season. It doesn't last, and it's not something you can rely on. I think we're beginning to see the Chiefs become mortal, and the Bills seem to be trending upwards. Bills fans, I don't think you'll have to wait much longer for Josh Allen to deliver and bring a Lombardi trophy to Buffalo. Gerard, I'm going to go to you now. What are your thoughts on Josh Allen?
Well, Ethan, I'm going to agree with you. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl because, as people from Buffalo know, getting to the game and winning the game are 2 completely different things. But I will say this. You've got to remember, they were a Dalton Kincaid drop. Now, it wasn't an easy catch, but it was a catchable ball from at least a tie, okay? And they still had time. He catches that ball. It's first down. They're going to probably at least get 3, push the game to OT, or they're going to go down and win the game. 1 play away, again, from being right there. Now, if offensive coordinator Joe Brady calls a better game, let's face it, that push was not working. They were not executing. How many times did we see them try and run it against the Chiefs? 3 or 4 times? Ridiculous. Better play calling. And Sean McDermott also, in that last play where Kincaid dropped the ball, they obviously did not have the right protection for Josh Allen. So it's a combination of a little bit of execution and some better coaching. probably would have won that game, or at least given them a better opportunity to win the game that we just saw last week. So they're not far away. Now that gets them to the game. Winning the game is a whole different issue. It's hard to win it when you've never been there before. They lost the 4 straight in the early 90s. So, as I said, getting there, I don't think they're far off at all. I think it's going to happen. To win it, that's a whole different issue, though.
Yeah, Bills fans just reliving those 90 memories over and over. Not fun. And then let's go to the other side. The NFC, the Eagles blew out the Commanders to get back to the Super Bowl. But that matchup, it could be a heavyweight divisional battle for the years to come. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley look like they're set to lead the Eagles for the foreseeable future. And Jaden Daniels, man, what a season. He has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the league for the next decade plus. Who knows? So who do you guys think wins more division titles over the next 10 years? Are you taking the Commanders or Eagles? Gerard, I'll go to you first. What do you think?
I'm going with the Commanders, Ethan, because I think, their upside is much more than the Eagles. You have to give the Eagles credit. They've gotten in, and that's all you have to do. That's the goal, to get in. But, they were a few, let's just say, in-family issues from probably not making it, and they got those straightened out enough to get there. I think that when it comes cap time, when it comes to guys needing to get theirs, they are going to be a lot further away than what the Commanders are going to be. The Commanders have their quarterback. They've got guys in place like Terry McLaurin. They've gotten a taste now. And when you have a taste, it's a lot easier for guys to buy in and for the ultimate goal to get there. The Eagles are in. Well, it's yet to be determined whether they actually win the game. But let's face it, the Chiefs are a monster. The Chiefs are the favorite. And the team that loses the Super Bowl usually goes backwards. That could be the Eagles in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to go with the Commanders. Their upside is higher. I see them winning more NFC East titles coming up in the near future.
Yeah, some good points there. Robbie, I'll go to you next. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Gerard there. I think it's going to end up being the Commanders in part because obviously Jaden Daniels looks like he is going to be a generational talent at quarterback. But when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract that pops that quickly, that opens up so much in roster building when it comes to adding talent around your rookie quarterback because they're not really making any money. They're not eating up a lot of your cap space. So the Commanders are going to be in an advantageous position to keep adding to that roster, adding pieces around Jaden Daniels, whereas, as Gerard said, the Eagles are kind of going to be in a cap crunch here because a lot of their guys are on second and third contracts and they're making a lot more money and you got to make some tough business decisions. But just from our standpoint out here in Arizona, too, it is still hard for me to kind of compute what Jaden Daniels is doing because I watched him with my own 2 eyes at Arizona State, and he was a great quarterback. But I never in a million years thought he would translate like this in the NFL. And similarly with Cliff Kingsbury. We watched him here as a head coach, and seeing what he's doing now with that Commanders offense, it's still kind of hard for us to wrap our head around. However, that marriage kind of works so perfectly there with the Commanders because those things did not work out here for us in the desert. But that is kind of the life of Arizona sports fans, right? We think we have nice things, and then those nice things leave, and they go on and they flourish elsewhere.
Well, I will say, as a Seattle sports fan, I can definitely relate with the Mariners over here and the Yankees taking all of our guys seemingly every single year. But I'll go next. Honestly, I did not expect you guys both to pick the Commanders. I find it hard to bet against Saquon Barkley and just the talent that he is. But with the Eagles, it's hard for me to get past the reported rift between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown that surfaced late in the season. Gerard, you mentioned sort of the, surface or the bubbles on the surface with not winning and how that tension can rise. With this latest rift, team captain Brandon Graham said the two were no longer friends, Brown and Hurts. It was quickly squashed publicly. Graham apologized to the team. Everything might be good right now, but it's hard for me to believe that that's going to last. What ends up happening when the Eagles lose 3 straight? Brown isn't getting the touches that he wants, or they hit any other sort of adversity. They get upset in the playoffs next year, what have you. They've already shown that there's some tension in that locker room. I think what the Commanders have, as you guys have said, is much more sustainable. That clock is a lot fresher with Jaden Daniels on that rookie contract. Daniel Snyder out as owner. You don't have that hanging over the franchise. I'm going to give the edge to Washington for the next decade, but I really think it's going to be close and definitely a wildly entertaining rivalry to watch for the next many years, honestly. Keyshawn, where do you stand on all this in the NFC East?
Well, Ethan, I guess I'm going to be the outlier in this conversation for two reasons. No, my number one reason is, it's kind of hard for me to anoint, Jaden McDaniels to being that top 5 quarterback because we just did the same thing with C.J. Stroud last year. Now, granted, Stroud, we found out he had a weird relationship with his offensive coordinator at the time, Slowick, it didn't work out. Slowick ended up getting fired. And I just want us to be careful because in the NFL, if you get 1 year of film on somebody, it kind of seems like the defensive coordinators, they figure out how to stop Jaden Daniels. So I don't want us to do it too fast. Say he's already a top 5 quarterback. Let's slow down. Let's see if he has a sophomore slump. I got to see it first to just say that the Commanders are going to be winning the NFC East for the next decade. And my second reason is it's going upstairs. I think that Howie Roseman and Jeff Lurie they have done a wonderful job when it comes to orchestrating this roster. If you look at the Eagles' defensive line and offensive line, it's probably the best in the NFL, if not a top 5. And then look at the back end. They take a Iowa. No offense, a Caucasian corner, with Cooper DeJean. He's being one of the best rookies right now. I mean, they know how to, find talent. And then they found a Toledo corner. I forget his first name, but his last name is Mitchell, I believe. He had a wonderful rookie season. I don't know what it is. They just know how to find talent. And, when in doubt, they go look for Georgia Bulldogs, and that's why they have one of the best defenses. Now, you guys brought up a great point. The relationship between Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and, Nick Sirianni in the mix. It's been very, very murky all year. But I just think that Howie and Jeff, they just know how to find talent, put teams together, and that's why they're going to always be competitive in the NFC East, for the years to come.
It's funny that we're talking about this NFC East battle and how much of a laughingstock that division was just a few years ago, and here we are in the NFC West. Used to be the Kings, and a little bit of a weaker conference this year. Pretty funny, guys. All right.
Let me just say this real fast. This Eagles thing, it reminds me of the Shaq Kobe years out here, where they have a ton of talent, but you just feel like, man, they are just a short fuse away from the whole thing just blowing up and it regressing. That's what the Eagles seem like to me.
Absolutely. Ticking time bomb, it sort of feels like. We'll see how long it lasts for sure. All right, let's move on to our final topic for today. Patrick Mahomes, if you can believe it, he's playing in his 5th Super Bowl with a chance to win his 4th. He doesn't turn 30, guys, until September. This coming September. If Mahomes gets a 4th ring next Sunday, does that put him into the GOAT conversation? Robbie, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I thought I was doing well. I turned 30 a few years ago, and I got a dream job in my, hometown market, starting a family, bought a house. Now I feel like I'm a loser when I compare myself to Patrick Mahomes, He's got to be in the GOAT competition, though, right? I mean, they put up the stat, and if my memory serves me correct, he's got the 2nd most playoff wins as a quarterback, only to Tom Brady, and we just said it, he's not even 30 years old yet. Every year, Patrick Mahomes has been the starting quarterback of the Chiefs. The worst they've done is the AFC Championship game, and most of those games they even hosted it. So, and I don't know, we're not going to do Super Bowl picks yet, but I'll just say right now, I have a good feeling the Chiefs are going to come out on top in this Super Bowl because it's impossible to pick against Mahomes and Andy Reid. If he wins another one, I think he's already probably vaulted himself near that conversation, but if he wins, he's got to definitely be in it.
Yeah, I completely agree, Robbie. For me, we absolutely need to be having this conversation. What Mahomes is doing is just, it's monumental. It's historic. Brady's the only one that's done anything like it. Mahomes can get his 4th ring this year. Brady didn't get his 4th until he was 37. Mahomes could do it before he turns 30. And Robbie, you mentioned it, but I'm going to repeat it again because I think it's just absolutely crazy. Out of these 7 years Mahomes has been the starter in Kansas City, always made the AFC Championship, 7 straight AFC Championships. It's just crazy. The Patriots dynasty is really the only thing that we've seen that's come close to it. Longevity might be the aspect that keeps Brady on top at the end of the day, playing till he was, 44, 45. But this absolutely should be talked about with the historic run that Mahomes is on. Plus, I wouldn't put it past Patrick to play until he's over 40. His game isn't reliant on running. That is something he benefits from right now, but he doesn't need it for his game to play at an elite level. I can see his game aging really well and not slowing him down much as he gets older. It's going to be a fun conversation for years to come, I'm sure. And if the Chiefs win, the entire offseason, right? All the talk shows, that's all they're going to be talking about the entire offseason. Gerard, let's go to you next. What are your thoughts on the GOAT conversation?
I'm all in on this, guys. I mean, the guy's already won 3. If he wins in a couple of weeks, it'll be 4. And you know what's impressive to me is the way he wins. And since we're going to compare him to Brady, I mean, Key knows this. You know, he has comeback wins in the biggest game. We've seen that. So he's capable of coming back on the big stage. But, you know, Brady, as great as he was part of a system. New England always had a superior defense. They always had amazing wide receivers. And I'm not saying that Kansas City's not in that realm right now. But Brady was a drop-back pocket passer. What Mahomes does, he's able to do that, but his improvisation is second to none. I mean, you think you got this guy stuck on big plays, 3rd down, 4th down. What's he do? He gets out of the pocket. He spins. He moves. He fake pumps. He runs for the first down with his legs. He'll throw the ball down the field, across the field, breaking all the rules, and he always comes up gold. It's so impressive to me the way he is able to find ways to win, which are much different than what Tom Brady did. So, yeah, I mean, he's already in that conversation as far as I'm concerned. He's just got to keep winning these games. They're the favorite. You know, we'll get into those picks next week. But, yeah, man, I mean, the more I watch this guy, the more impressed I am with him.
Yeah, it seems like every single game Patrick Mahomes is doing something that we haven't seen on the field. It's pretty ridiculous. Keyshawn, I'll go to you. You'll close this out. What are your thoughts?
Ethan, I'm sorry, but win or lose, he's already in the GOAT conversation. I mean, you know, as of right now, my top 5 quarterbacks of all time, obviously you got to start with Tom Brady. Mahomes is right there at number 2 because he's having the best 20s as a quarterback in NFL history. Who goes to the AFC title game, Super Bowl, every season since he became the starter? Unheard of. And then my number 3 is Peyton Manning, and then because, you know, he lost a couple Super Bowls, he won, but, you know, I think that as right now, Mahomes has been better than Peyton Manning when he's started off his career. Because we just talked about it earlier, Peyton could not get over the hump. And Mahomes is already the hump for most quarterbacks. And then my number 4 is John Elway. You know, he lost a couple Super Bowls before he finally won one in his late 30s with the Broncos in the late 90s. And number 5 is Dan Marino. I mean, he may not have a championship, but who throws 5,000 passing yards in the 1980s? And he ran into probably arguably the best assembled team, the 1984 49ers. So, you know, Mahomes has already had a better career to start off compared to all those quarterbacks. If he gets another, he'll be tied up with Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana for the best, career for a quarterback. You know what? Guys, I made a mistake. Joe Montana's my number 3. Number 4 is Peyton Manning. Number 5 is John Elway. I started that. I can't forget. How do I forget Joe Montana?
I was just going to say.
So
I was just going to say.
I was wondering myself. I was a San Francisco Live guy leaving Joe Montana out of the
Yeah, that's what
they're gonna come looking for you, Keith. You better, you got to fix that.
All right, my number 1 is Tom Brady. My number 2 is Patrick Mahomes. And my number 3 is Joe Montana. Number 4 is Peyton Manning. Number 5 is John Elway. And the only reason why Marino doesn't get in because he doesn't have the ring. But still, a great career, having 5,000 passing yards back in that era, unheard of. But yeah, if Mahomes wins another championship, it's inevitable. At some point, he's going to be the GOAT because he's only 29 years old, and I still think he's going to get 2 or 3 more to finish his career.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be fun to talk about. It's going to be the whole MJ LeBron debate all over for who knows how long. It's going to be fun. All right, guys, it was fun today as well. That's going to do it for us on the NFC West Huddle. Remember, catch full episodes on the Fox Local app. We'll be back next week talking all things Super Bowl, so stay tuned for that. For Keyshawn Ward, Robbie Baker, and Gerard Moncure, I'm Ethan McReynolds. We'll see you next time.